everyone, it's Jennifer McCollum, and I am here today with the fabulous Sharon Roberts from Dyslexia Resources Canada. Hello, Sharon.
Hi, how are
So
you?
I am wonderful. I'm so happy to be talking to you. I've been trying to get you into an interview for so long just to have a chat about exactly how you support parents. And like I said, Sharon runs a company called Dyslexia Resources Canada, and she helps children with learning differences, learn to focus and find success in life. Isn't that wonderful? And I love that she does this offering online, of course, offering this online. And I know you do some in person as well when that gets up and running again. But right now, online, drug free support. And you do that through a 5-day program working with children with dyslexia. So tell me a little bit, Sharon, about how you got into supporting families of that have children that are dyslexic.
I'd be glad to. Well, most of the people who go into this kind of business have had a personal experience with it, and I'm one of those. Many years ago, we knew our son was struggling very much in school. I mean, he's an adult now, but we knew even before he went into kindergarten he was going to struggle, and he had language delays and that sort of thing. And we did everything that we could to try and support him, and yet he still struggled. But we knew he was smart, but we just couldn't find that little thing that would fix it up. And so anyways, by the time he was in grade 7, then we discovered this one method that sort of turned his life around. So that's how I got him into this. I was so impressed with what happened for him that I went into this field. And I've been doing it for 18 years.
That is wonderful. Now, the method that you use is the Davis method, is that right?
Yeah, the Davis Dyslexia Correction Method.
Wonderful. And does that then walk a child through, you said you provide this in a 5-day kind of program.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a strategy that you work through for those 5 days to get to the end and what the outcome that that the parent wants for the child?
Yeah, and we do. We kind of tap into their way of thinking, which is they're visual, spatial, picture types of thinkers. And what happens for that type of child in the school system, and there's a spectrum of this as well, but the school system is designed for more of a verbal based kind of learner. They're not like that, and that's where the struggle is. And so it's like putting a square peg in a round hole for these kids. So we acknowledge how they think, and we provide strategies for them for the sake of talking, to focus and be relaxed and be able to discern when they're starting to be confused. And we used one of the thing that a dyslexic possesses is a vivid imagination, and we use their imagination to create a place for them to think with when they have to deal with schoolwork. That helps them focus.
That's wonderful. And I've known about the Davis dyslexia correction program for a while. And I always think about clay when
Yeah,
I think of it. So is that one of the tools that you use to support kids
yeah,
with that are dyslexic?
yeah. Because the clay puts abstract terms into reality. So they're very concrete in their thinking. So what we do is once we give them the tools to focus, or we call it oriented, we start looking at things that could cause a problem for the child when it comes to reading, if that's what they're doing as a reading program. And so we take clay or plasticine, I have a little piece here, and we create the alphabet, uppercase, lowercase, and we try to decipher what is causing that child confusion. And we lead up to the magical, what we call trigger words, which are those sight words that children are taught to read in kindergarten, grade 1. And they give dyslexics a lot of problems because most of the time when they're taught, they're just taught to recognize that the word THE spells the. They have no picture of what a the is. And they're picture thinkers, and they need the picture. So then we use clay. There's a definition for the, and we look it up, we talk about it, what can you make, and off they go. So they have on a subconscious level of an image of what a the is, and that doesn't confuse them anymore.
That is wonderful. And I wouldn't have thought of that, but now, that you've described it that way, I can see the real benefit of, like working with the clay and looking at it different ways, and you being able to observe that as well, that would be a great benefit. So let's say we have a family listening right now, and they think maybe their child might be dyslexic. Are there certain key things to look out for or to notice to really then move into the next step, which is figuring out if your child is dyslexic?
There's loads of things to look for and every dyslexic person is different. But in their early years, if they had speech delays, that's probably a sign. If they have too much energy or too little energy, because it can go the opposite, that might be a sign as well.
Yeah.
The thing that this is what I look for, or what I tell parents when I'm talking with them. If your child is showing intelligence in other areas, so let's say they're very artistic or very athletic, but yet they're still falling behind everybody else in something, there's probably a clue that there's something else going on.
And what's the first step that someone should take if they notice these things then in their child?
Well, if they're okay, so with me, most of our programs are designed for children 8 and up, but there is a younger learner program for those that are maybe 5 and up, 5 to 8, and they could invest in something like that to give them a way of focusing, because they don't focus on things so easily. They're very highly distracted. But that would be something that they could do. But there are other things like outside of my actual program that would help is to keep them grounded, is to watch their nutrition and get them outside and playing and that sort of thing as well. Because it's kind of weird when you're working with a child who's dyslexic and you're doing one part, but they're coming in high on sugar. It's sort of
right.
to tax everything, right? So
yeah, that's right. I mean, you have to eliminate some of the other things going on in their life as well too.
yeah, I mean, the ideal child would be one that is well fed, has a good support system, is grounded, not too much video games, that sort of thing. That's the idea.
Don't be a fly on the wall in my house then right now. Okay, so that kind of segues really well into like the causes of dyslexia, and that there's all these other circumstances that might be happening around them that might maybe contribute to the behavior. But dyslexia, like how do you know what causes it, or do you know what causes it?
Well, there's a lot of theories. What we feel is that it is a special thing that they do when they're very, very young, maybe even before the age of 2. So what happens in the toddler's mind is they begin to solve problems around them without using any kind of verbal method. So for example, when they're very young, babies can only see so much around them. But if they see part of something, they can, a dyslexic baby, possible baby, would be able to decipher what that is and use their imagination to see the extension of it.
Mhm.
And in the book, The Gift of Dyslexia, they will talk about little PD, which is pre-dyslexic, that they will maybe stand up in their crib and they see a fur ball in the corner of the room.
Mhm.
And that's all it looks like, but they're able to use their imagination and take it apart and decipher that it's the family cat. So this method of solving problems is developed very early, and it becomes automatic, so that when that child gets into kindergarten, they're solving problems by extending their imagination. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with symbols, which are letters and numbers, if you get confused on one of those things and you're letting your imagination look at it in a visual spatial way, you're going to get the wrong answer,
Mhm.
right? Like there's so many symbols in basic alphabet that are so much similar, like U and N is inverted, and P and D and all those. So they're using a talent to solve problems, which works in the real world, but does not work on symbols. So that's what we think happens, is that it's developed very early.
Hmm. Interesting. And now I've heard where, sometimes people don't find out they're dyslexic until they're adults.
Yeah, yeah.
So that must be a real aha moment when they realize, oh, you know, can, you know, I'm not the way I was told I was all my life. I'm dyslexic. Like, has that happened with any of your clients, the adult clients you
It
work with?
happened to me.
Yeah, yeah. But it must be amazing when you work with other people that it's the same.
Yeah, this is the whole puzzle is, I mean, school is designed to, when you go to school as a child, if you can regurgitate what you've learned, you get a mark for it. So therefore, if you get
Yeah.
a passing grade, you're okay. There's loads of children who get away with that, but
Mhm.
sometimes, and they're using all kinds of solutions to get the answer. But what happens is they progress through school, it becomes more and more difficult, and then all those old solutions don't work. So then maybe you have a child that does well up to grade 7, and then all of a sudden is not performing well. And or I have sometimes university students that go like, oh, I can't do the work anymore, where they may have had good grades. So it depends on how their threshold, how often they how high the threshold is, depends on how confused they get. So
Mhm.
in my case, I mean, I don't call myself a dyslexic because I went through university and I was pushed ahead in school, but I had real problems at the same time.
Mhm.
The method that was my son used is when we get become facilitators, we have to undergo the method as well. And I began to realize, okay, the reason why I couldn't do that is because of this other problem,
Wow.
right? So yeah,
Wow. Just
yeah, it's
amazing.
really fascinating.
Just amazing. And now I never want to leave our parents that are watching in a place where they don't know what to do next. Because I
Mhm.
imagine a lot of people listening right now are just questioning themselves or their kids and what's going on, like some of the symptoms they're noticing. So, what I just want to leave on a note of hope for them
Okay.
because I feel like oftentimes we talk about things that are happening with our kids in a negative way, and I know every time I've talked to you, it's like I leave feeling positive, and that it doesn't matter if you're dyslexic. I mean, there's so much hope, and there is a way to, um, you know, just overcome or fix. I don't know if that's even the right word
Yeah.
for it, but that there is hope, and that 5-day program that you offer can really change lives. So I want to talk about
Yeah.
your 5-day program if I can. Um, but I
Okay.
want to give parents a really clear understanding of how they would work with you. And I know you offer a free call. So can we talk about um, what would happen if they were to contact you? Let's say a parent listening right now is thinking either they're dyslexic or their child is. How would they contact you, and what would happen in that 30 minutes that you offer, that free call that you offer?
Well, usually what the general kind of scenario is, I'm just curious as to whether my child is dyslexic, and I will say, okay, why do you think they're dyslexic? And he says, well, they're struggling in school, and there was dyslexia in my family. So they often will say something like that. And so basically, they just I allow them to kind of take over, and I'll just say, well, what's happening, um, and uh, and then from that, whatever they say is happening, I try to explain, well, according to what we do, this is why it's happening, and this is how we will address it if you're interested in pursuing this more. Um, and some people come to us with psychoed assessments, but that we don't need a psychoed assessment. We're just looking at symptoms, and can we help you with the symptoms?
Okay, so we do the 30-minute call with you, and
Mm-hmm.
then the child would, after you've had a conversation with the parent, then you work with the child
Mm-hmm.
um, for 5 days.
Yes.
And then I know you offer support for the parent after, because it's not just 5 days and done, you're on your own. Tell me about that process. So we've done the 30-minute call, the free call. They've decided if they want to go ahead with the 5-day program.
Mhm. Yeah, well, we do I always do an assessment first to see if they're ready for the program, because sometimes the child isn't even aware that they're having a problem, and we need them to be self-aware.
Mhm.
So in the assessment process, we can kind of figure that out if they are self-aware. And sometimes they don't really want help. I remember one child didn't want help because they liked all the attention they were getting at that particular time. So you can't help them, right?
Mhm.
So the assessment is important. But and then the 5-day program, we're just addressing root causes for their confusion. And then we have to spend a good afternoon with whoever wants to support the child, which is usually the parent. Sometimes there will be a tutor come in or that. And we show them how to do the orientation exercises and the reading exercises. We have 3 different reading exercises that are a little bit different from what's traditionally shown. And then we get to those models of those sight words. And the parent will sit there and make their own models for different words, so they get an idea of what really is involved. And so that's what we do for the training. And then, of course, following the training, we offer 3 2-hour sessions, more support training if they need it. So what happens would be, uh, maybe they started off well, and then they kind of got sidetracked and weren't doing the work, so we kind of have to kind of set up a time again and kind of go over stuff. Or sometimes there's some words in the list of trigger words that are quite difficult, or that parents will find difficult, maybe, that I might help the child with. That they can use it for that as well. And yeah, and then and even they can send pictures of their models to me to see if they got it right. Sometimes they need that reassurance. It's not like it's that really, really hard, but you want to make sure it's done properly. And so they just need a little bit of reassurance. So that happens a lot too.
That's great, and good to know for the parents too, that they have support from you after their child goes through it. So it's not 5 days and that's it. They're on their own. They have you to support them after that. So I love that.
Yeah.
Is there anything we missed talking about, Sharon, that you want parents to know if they feel like they have their child is dyslexic, or if they feel like they are dyslexic? What can we leave them with? Anything additional you want them to
Yeah.
know?
Well, I think things are coming around a little bit about the attitude towards dyslexia. When my son was in school, which was quite a few years ago, um, it was looked at as a disability. They were not able to learn. That's what they're saying. But they are, I think there has been a change in attitude. And so I personally look at it as a learning difference.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have to be able to show them how to learn the way that they think. And I think that the program that I offer does do that. So that's the good news. And there's lots of positive things with being dyslexic as well. Mm-hmm. It's not all bad. And they can be they're above average in intelligence. They can be very creative. They can be very athletic. So there are some good things. They can have really good interpersonal skills, which is a great thing to have too. Mm-hmm. They can also not have good interpersonal skills. So, but that's the good news, is that there's nothing wrong with them. I don't think they're brain damaged or anything like that, which is the way we used to think of learning disabilities. Mm-hmm. We now know the brain is not hardwired anymore. And so that there is help there and they can learn.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Wonderful. So if a parent is looking for support, they can find you on our parentcoach.club website. Any other ways, Sharon, that you want to let them know to find you?
Well, they can get quite a bit of information on my website, which is dyslexia.ca. Our international website is dyslexia.com. So if you want to see mine, it's CA. Dyslexia.com has loads of things there for them to look at, and they that might be of interest. I do provide information nights on Zoom now, and that's usually the first Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock. Okay. And if they want, they could just attend that just to learn more things. And I have about a 30-minute presentation with a Q&A following that. So they just need to, they can go onto my site and submit the email address, and then I would send them the link. So that's an easy way of finding more information. Okay. Or they can call.
And what's the phone number? Let us know.
Okay, 519-746-8422.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sharon, for all your time today. You've really enlightened me, and I know that lots of parents listening will feel a lot better knowing that you're there to support them. And that free 30-minute call or your Thursday info night with Q&A is a great way to get started. So I hope you find lots of parents reaching out to you. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jennifer.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.